So today we are going to implement logistic regression, and for implementing that, before the implementation, I would like to share the PPT also. I would like to discuss few points regarding that how does this thing work so that you people can revise. Sharing the screen towards the PPT. 1 second. Okay. So I hope the PPT is available. Logistic regression. So we all know that logistic regression uses the sigmoid function, and this is how the prediction function looks like: 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus of this equation of beta naught, beta 1, x1, so all of these variables, and the predicted value of the hypothesis lies between 0 and 1. So we have to make a prediction in which we will get this y hat value. If it is less than 0.5, we will say that my label is 0. If it is greater than equal to zero point 0.5, we will say my label is 1. And how do we find the optimal value of beta? In this, there are few steps that we need to follow. In order to find the optimal beta, we will do following steps. So this has already been covered in class, but I am still repeating it so that you people can understand better. So initialize all the beta values equal to 0 and then update the beta value uh, by subtracting this alpha into delta j upon delta beta j. Here alpha is my learning rate and k are the total number of features, and delta j upon delta beta is we are differentiating our cost function, that is j. So we are differentiating that function with respect to beta j. This beta j will be changing every time: beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, and overall this beta can be updated. So this delta j upon delta beta j will be equal to this equation 1 by n into summation 1 to n fxi minus yi. So we have seen this in lab. We have already seen this in our class. So moving to the next slide. Uh, okay. Yeah. So this is the step-by-step implementation. We will be doing all these things practically in the code. But what do we have to do is we have to first load the data set, and then we will handle the null values, remove the noise, and then outliers will be handled. Class balancing will be required. If required, we will be taking care of that also. And we will be separating the data set into x and y. X are the independent variables, y are the dependent variables. So we have to split when we have made this x and y variables as separate two data frames, then we will be splitting that data set into two parts: train and test, and using the train set to find the optimal value of beta hat. I mean, we will be using that training data set to get the optimal value, and then we will be doing that prediction of uh, test data set using that optimal value, and we will make the predictions. We will compare it with the test y value, and we will get the performance based on that. So after that, uh, this is how we will be looking into. We will be handling hard.csv file, and I will get you to that, and all of these things will be covered in code now. So I'm taking you back to the code. Logistic regression. Okay, so this is a data set that we will be working on. Hard data science, UCI. So you can search on Kaggle, you can reach this link easily. uh, you have to download this file, so I'm downloading it. Download this zip file, and I will be unzipping it on the back end. I'm doing the unzip right now, and I will be putting this thing into the file section of our code. So I'm bringing that in the file section in 1 second. Uh, so this is my file section. I'm going to bring all the, I'm going to bring that hard.csv file here. You can see that sample data folder is here, but hard.csv is not here. So I'm dragging and dropping that into the space so that we can use it. Done. So you can see now you have this hard.csv file which we will be using. So you can double click on it and you can look into the dataset entries. So this is how it looks like, but we will read this file through the code, and we will start running the code now. We will be implementing logistic regression on this heart disease UCA Kaggle dataset. This is the link. It is given in the Python notebook. This will be shared with you later on. So these are the few important libraries that we will be requiring. I hope you know that NumPy is for the numerical Python, and full form is numerical Python, but it is used in mathematical calculations. Pandas is used for dataset handling, all the data frames. Seaborn and Matplotlib are the two graphical libraries in which we will be implementing all the graphical analysis through these two libraries. So this is how we will read the file. You know this, right? So pd dot read CSV, hard.csv, and we will look into the head of it. All the top 5 rows will come. So these top 5 rows having the index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the 5 rows. They have all these different columns in which target column is in the end. So you can see that these first 5 rows have the value of 1. So they have a heart disease, but we will look into the overall data information. So df.info, it is saying that in this dataset there are total of 14 columns, out of which obviously my 14th column is target column. So we have to use the first 13 columns to do the prediction, 0 to 12. uh, all of them have no missing value. You can see that all of them have 303 entries and all non-null values. It means that not a single value is null. And then we can describe it. We can look into the 25 percentile, 50 percentile, mean. So all those kind of values for each and every column, you can get this value. And you can see here that max value, min value, 25 percentile, 50 percentile, standard deviation, mean, all of these kind of values are there. The count is also there. And so you can get these values maybe to make some kind of maybe insight. So here I can see that mean value is 54.36. The 50 percentile value is 55. So these are very near. So looks like a balanced column. This is a single column. So you can make these kind of calls. Now I want to do the exploratory data analysis. First, we will look into the this function dot value counts. So this function gives me the exact count of the target values. So whatever values this target column has, in our case it will be 0 and 1. All the counts will be given that 0 is this number, 1 is this number. So in this data set, 165 and 138 are the two number of values for 1 and 0 respectively. Now I am going to count plot this thing, right? So all this exact number 165 and 138 will be presented graphically. I have used the Seaborn library dot count plot function, given the data frame and the target value. So for that, we have plotted that 1 is around 160 plus values, and around 138, 139, the 0 is there. So it is exactly this thing, right? So this is now plotted. And here you can see that there is not much difference. There is not a very big difference between these two. If it had been a very big difference, we would have said that it is a class imbalance problem. So now I'm going to do the box plot. So this is all part of EDA, right? So this EDA is about caring about the class imbalance problem and visualizing that how does these things look. So now I want to do the box plot for the target column based on age. So this will give me the box plot for 0 and 1. It will show that for the heart disease, what is the average age, and if the person is healthy, what is the healthy average age. So you can see here that if the person is having heart disease, let's say this one value is having heart disease, this is average age of maybe 52, and people who are not having the heart disease, their average age is around 58, 59. So this is the 50 percentile, this is the average, right? So based on this thing, we can make kind of an insight. It might not be of so much value right now, but for maybe some kind of analysis, you might need these things. Not maybe not for age, but maybe for something else. So now I'm also going to plot the correlation. So I'm going to plot the correlation graph of all the columns. There are total of 14 columns. We will be plotting the correlation, and we will look into it, that if it has very high correlation, maybe we will do some kind of data reduction. But if you look here, obviously we will care if the value is above plus zero point 0.8 or maybe less than minus zero point 0.8. And here, except the diagonal values, no value is above plus zero point 0.8 or maybe less than minus zero point 0.8. So all of them are very less correlated, and kind of all of them are important. So we are not going to drop any column. If it had been the case that maybe two or three columns are very high correlated, maybe first four, this one, this second, third, fourth, so all these three, let's say that they had the values of zero point 0.9, zero point 0.9, 0.85, something like that, then we would have thought of doing some kind of data deduction. But in this case, obviously you can see from the first column, first row itself, that there is no high correlation between any kind of uh, these columns, right? So now I'm going to do the train test split, and for that, first I need to do this kind of division, that x belongs to the first 13 columns. So this thing means that all rows 0 to 13 means 0 to 13 means 13 is not included, so 0 to 12 means 13. First 13 columns will be added into the x. 13th, the last column, the 14th column, having the index, having the column number of 13, will be the y. So if you see the heads of it, first five rows will come up. These are the first 13 columns, having top five rows look like this. And similarly, the first five values in this target value are 1 1 1 1 1. We have seen this earlier also in the beginning. Now I'm going to do the train test split. We are going to get the normalization done. So these two things will be done here. So for that, we will be using these commands of sklearn.model selection. So you should remember that train test split is part of model selection, and standard scalar normalization is part of preprocessing, right? So this thing should be remembered. Might be some kind of question comes up regarding this. Then you know this sequence has to be maintained: x train, x test, y train, y test, and train test split has to be made with the test size of 0.3. 30% random values will be selected for the test data set, and rest of the 70% will be kept for the training. And these four components will be filled using this function train test split. Random state is 42, so that we both can get the same answer. If you run and if I run, both of us should get the exact same answer. So that's why if you will use this 42 by the end of this video, which you will be seeing, so all the answers will be exactly matching, because at the back end, every value that is being selected will be same. So scalar equal to standard scalar. So we will be making the object of this normalization, and then we are going to scale only the x part. We will never scale the y part. We are not scaling the y, that is my target value, but we are only focused on scaling the x values, all the independent variables. So this is the function in which fit transform will be done. Fit transform means that the mean and variance will be taken care of, and the data will be transformed for this x train and x test. Both of these are ready to be used in the model now. So we will be training our model, the train logistic regression. We will be using this data set, scaled x train, and we will be verifying on scaled x test. Let's see. So this is the inbuilt model, inbuilt function. From sklearn.linear model, import the logistic regression. So this is the this logistic regression is part of linear model, and so this will be used, this will be imported. And then if you want to look into the details of it, maybe you can look into the help of logistic regression, and there will be lots of things that you can verify on your end. So it is actually lots of stuff. So you can maybe learn about what this classes underscore get me, what does this coefficient underscore gets me, what is this intercept. So all these kind of things, different variables, what is the meaning, so everything is there. You can verify and maybe explore on your end. Then if I want to now if I want to do the training, I will be generating first the object of it. So logistic regression functions object is being created, this log model, and then log model will be fitted into this data set, scaled X train and Y train. So obviously I told you that we will be using the scaled data set. So this scaled data set, uh, scaled train, which we had normalized here, we will be using this thing to train the model. Obviously Y train is not being changed. It has not been normalized because Y train already had the values of 0 and 1. So once the model is fit, our model is ready to do the prediction now, and it has few variables inside it. You can go and look into the details of it. So penalty equal to L2 means that L2 regulation is being used by default on the backend. Now evaluation. For evaluation, we will be looking into multiple things. We will be looking into accuracy value, accuracy score, confusion matrix, classification report, and plot the confusion matrix. So we will be using these four things to verify the results, and we will look into that what are the things that we are getting. So this Y prediction can be done by using this log model. We have this object here. We have already saved our model in this log model. So this log model will be used for the prediction also. Dot predict scaled X test. Now obviously scaled X test will be used to do the prediction, and the predictions will be printed. So this is how my predictions look like. 0 1 1 0 1 1 1 0 0 0. So these kind of predictions are there. Now I want to verify that okay, this is my Y prediction, but compared to my Y test, that was the original data, that was part of my split of the original data set. What is the actual similarity, or I mean how much equal it is, right? So we will be checking the accuracy score, that true positive plus true negative divided by all the values. So that is here at 81%. So 81.3% is my accuracy score. Now if I want to uh, look at the confusion matrix, so I can make plot the confusion matrix between the Y test and Y prediction, and this will show me that how much true positive, true negative, all the stuff are there. But now just by looking at this array, I am unable to be very sure that which one value is true positive, which one is true negative. So maybe we can also plot it. So we can plot this confusion matrix by using this command. And I mean, we can directly call this function plot confusion matrix and pass these values: log model, scaled X test, and Y test. So once these values will be plotted, it will look like this. So here you can see that 0 being called 0, 32, right? So 32 is true negative, and 1 being called 1, true, and predicted 1 is here 42. So this 42 is my true positive. 1, true 1 being called 0, right? So what is this? False negative, because you are actually calling this negative, but it is false to say it negative. So false negative value is 8 and false positive value is 9. So these are the four values that we could not verify that what is the meaning here, but after plotting the confusion matrix, we can be very sure that which one is true positive, which one is true negative, all of that stuff. So now if I want to do it in a normalized way, the difference will be simple, that it will give me the percentage of it rather than these numbers. So if I go and plot it using this normalize equal to true, you will see that the answers are now 0.78, 0.84, 0.16, and 0.22. Obviously 0 being called 0, true negative is 0.78. So 78% of the values are true negative. It is being called true negative, right? And 16% of the values, one being called 0, this is false negative. Similarly, false positive 22%, 0.84, 84% as the true positive. So this is how you can look at the normalized values, and maybe directly, in case you want the percentage, this can be got it from here. So now if I want to plot the classification report, so if I plot it, the classification report will be printed in this. These multiple values are there for us. So you can see here that 0 and 1 are there. Okay. And now because we are dealing with the Y test part, so if I go above and check that what is the actual shape of my Y test, right? So I want to know that Y test ka shape kya hai. So Y test dot shape will get me the value, this total 91 values. So now total 91 values are there. So uh, you will see here in the classification report that 0 has instances of 41, one has instances of 51. So total 91 values are there, and this 91 is being reflected here also. So this support means that how much values are there to to be checked or verified. So how many values are there that are in the play. So now you can be very sure that okay, 91 values were there in the y test. It means that here it means that 41 values out of that 91 were of 0 originally, and 50 of those 91 values were 1 originally. And these are my precision values. This is 80 and 82. This is my recall. This is my f score. So obviously these values are my micro precision, micro recall, all those kind of values that we have studied in the lectures. So this is my macro value. This is macro 81%, and weighted average is 81, 81, 81. So in this case, macro and weighted are same, but generally, if there is a kind of class imbalance, then these numbers might be not same for each other in macro as well as weighted. So now if I want to also plot the AUC curve, AUC, we have studied in lecture that AUC is the plot of TPR and FPR, but then there is also a plot of precision recall. So AUC ROC curve is a plot between the uh, TPR and FPR, and FPR is equal to 1 minus specificity that we have studied in the lecture. But I did not cover the precision recall curve. You both, you every one of you know that what is the meaning of precision and recall. So between this precision and recall, if you plot the values, then it is called precision recall curve. Okay, similar to the in this ROC curve, you know that TPR and FPR is there. In precision recall curve, precision and recall are there in the x and the y axis. So if you go ahead and plot the values for precision recall curve, it looks like this. So what we have done is we have again called this function plot the precision recall curve. Log model is my model that has been trained. Scaled x test and y test have been passed, and it will be making some predictions. Based on that, the plot has been made. So this is how my plot looks like. The area under the precision recall curve is 0.88. So this works similar to AUC. In this, we are looking at the percentage of curve which is being covered. So out of this total area of 1 into 1, that is 1, 88% of the curve is being covered by this plot. So that's why AP is equal to 0.8. And similarly, if you go ahead and plot the ROC curve, the ROC value, the AUC value that we will be receiving in the end is again AUC equal to 0.88. So again 88% is being covered. So these are all the values that we needed to get through for logistic regression, what we say, evaluation matrix. So we have gone through evaluation matrix. We have plotted the accuracy score. We got the accuracy score, and then we plotted the confidence matrix, and also we printed the confidence matrix. Then we got the classification report in terms of a very big table in which we had the micro, macro, and weighted precision and recall, along with what was that called, support value. Yeah, support value, the count. So support value was there, and then we also plotted the confusion matrix. We also plotted the AUC curve, the precision recall curve. So all those things were plotted, and that's all for this logistic regression. That's all how the predictions have to be made. And in this case, it was simple that we had a uh, we had two classes. Logistic regression helped us to do the prediction between that 0 and 1 of heart disease, if the person has heart disease or not. So that's all for logistic regression.